In other words, the evil that the very family perpetrated on Joseph ripped forward to help them later. See, God didn't create the first act of evil, but he created the fact that brought evil in the sense that he created us and he gave us free will. So God gave us the ability to do evil things because he gave us free will so we could be moral creatures. And in order to be a moral creature, you have to have free will. You've got to be able to love or hate. If you don't have one or the other, you're not really a free creature. So yes, there is freedom. And does God use evil for good? This is throughout the scriptures. I'll just give you a few of them. Well, first of all, think about Joseph in the Old Testament. And I talk about this on the podcast, why evil is a powerful argument for God. Joseph is sold into slavery by his brothers. He's got dad's favorite, so they sell him into slavery, and he goes through a lot of pain and suffering in Egypt, but ultimately rises to the third most powerful person in Egypt. He puts a lot of grain aside, and then the very family, his own family that sold him into slavery, actually escapes Israel and comes to Egypt in order to escape a famine. And as soon as Joseph recognizes them, he says, what? You dirty rats, you're going to pay now. No, he doesn't do that. He says, what you meant for evil, God meant for good, the saving of many lives. In other words, the evil that the very family perpetrated on Joseph ripped forward to help them later. This is what is known as the ripple effect, that when we can't understand why a particular evil occurs, we know why we don't understand it, because we're caught in time. We can't see how this thing is going to ripple forward into the future, but God can. God can bring good from evil even when we can't see it. This is why the famous passage that Paul talks about in Romans chapter 8 says, we know that all things work together for good. By the way, he doesn't say all things are good. He says all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. Yes, evil happens all the time. People get sick, people die. We can't always explain why that happens, but we know why we can't explain, because the ripple effect can bring forth good later. And it's not just Joseph in the Old Testament. You can look at Paul in Romans 5, talking about how pain and suffering bring forth perseverance, and perseverance brings forth character, and character hope. James says the same thing in James chapter 1. The writer of Hebrews talks about this in Hebrews chapter 12. It's all over the scriptures.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And 2 Corinthians 4. Don't forget about 2 Corinthians 4, where Paul says, light and momentary afflictions are achieving for us a greater weight of glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, for what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen, because what is unseen is eternal. In other words, going through difficulty can enhance your capacity to enjoy God now and forever.